Welcome to the approval process for corporate policies. Welcome to the corporate approval process. You have just been through a complete training session on negotiation skills, the art of negotiation. We are taking you one step ahead, giving you now a practical tool to take the same learning that you have had during the training into the field. Very often when you go to a client, you realize that the client is not happy with the one proposal that you have taken to him. He wants more options. He wants you to give him a better deal. What we are doing through the corporate approval process is that we are giving you the tool through which you can reach the client's premise with the correct kind of approvals you require for the different options you may have in mind for the given client. Let's look at what this corporate approval process is all about. As we know, negotiation is something that is required to have a successful negotiation is something that is required for you to achieve successful outcomes for your business. More often than not, it will be straightforward. Sometimes it could be full of challenges. It is essential, therefore, for you to be well planned and prepared before you actually go to meet the client. Please remember that you must approach a client for negotiation with a clear set of strategies, messages and tactics. You will be able to do this if you actually sit down with your complete data and check out what are the options that you can give to your client. Now, please remember that when we are talking about these negotiations, etc., one thing which is very important is that we need to create what is called a win-win situation for both you and your client, that is the buyer and the seller, because it's only the win-win situations which get converted into a number of deals or a number of associations with that one client. When we get into a deal, we first create the first e-proposal for our client. Before I get into this, let's see further. As we know that there are two different kinds of negotiation tools. The first negotiation tool is the direct negotiation tool. As we see here, delivery charge, installation charge, discount on product and discount on buyback, or the indirect negotiation tools which ultimately help you clinch a deal could be the advance payment, payment terms and the credit policy. What we need to be very clear about is that e-proposals will be created at the MRP only. Right? We will not give any kind of discounts at this stage. Now let's look at the complete process before we look at the form itself. So if I look at the process, it says we will first prepare the e-proposal without any discounts in this initial proposal. Then we send the e-proposal for approval. When we send it for approval, a task will be auto-generated and will move into our inbox in the SMP. Now we go for review, we log into the SMP, we go for review, we get to see the specific client and the specific prospect when we open the task. We make whatever changes are required to the values and the parameters that we have planned. We add that to the grid and then we see, do we want to have another option? If we want to make another option, if you look at it here, want to make another option, yes, I will go back to making the changes and adding to the grid. If no, I will go further down and say, okay, I have had enough of options, let me move forward for approval. Now that I've sent it forward for approval, it moves on to my HOL. My HOL will study the options by viewing the data and then just take a call on what kind of approval he would like to give, whether it is actually an approval or he's going to reject it. It is the HOL's job at this stage to scrutinize the option very carefully. I'll give you a reason for this. The reason for this is very simple. Let's assume that a business developer has had three different options. The first option is for 10%, the second option is for 5% and the third option is for 2.5% discount on the product value. Now, let's say that HOL seems to feel that he can give a 10% discount for this particular proposal. But do we realize that it is not just the product discount that matters? There are many other parameters like your advance payment, like the credit term, etc., which is very important. So a word of caution to all the HOLs, they must not just give not give one approval and say the rest below that. That means if I've given a 10% discount, anything below 10% is acceptable. You must not look at it like that. You must actually scrutinize every single option that comes to you. And if there is some sort of a change that you feel is required, you must not approve of that particular option that has come. At the same time, if required, you can make the change in that particular option also. So if you have, let's say, a discount of 10%, 5% and 2.5%, but you want to make a change there, you say not 7%, not 5%, not 10%, let's say 7%. You as a HOL can make that actual change and save the proposal and save that option and give an approval. However, a business developer must be very careful and he must read through this entire entire option once before he actually says, yes, I am ready to take this to the client now. Now, as we know that after we have made the approvals and the HOL, we have done the options and the HOL has approved, the system will now send all these options to the final authority, that is the concerned authority, for final approval. This final approval is based on the discount matrix and the credit day matrix. The word, if you notice on the screen, is the final approval is also based. Why am I using the word also? Is because all of us, all business developers, are supposed to be giving discounts or credit days basis the matrix that is applicable. Now, the HOL has made whatever changes he wants to do, has sent it further after approving. The final authorities have done all the approving, and this is now further seen by the sender, that is the business developer, the owner of that particular prospect. When you see this, you will be able to click on the history to see the approvals, entire, whatever history of approval is available. And at the same time, if you think you would like to make some kind of a change, you can make the change on even the approved option. If you make a change on the approved option, it will convert itself. That means the status now will change to WIP, that is work in progress. And you will go through the complete process of approval once again. However, let's say that you had no more changes to do. You were happy with the options. You can always take out the printout and you can go to the client for the business deal. Now that you've understood the theory of it, let's look at the form itself and understand how that works. So, I'm now talking about the fact that you have already made the proposal. Of course, the proposal has no discounts in it. You move into your SMP, you log into SMP. So, we have Ram Kishore Jha, who has logged into the SMP. After logging in there, at the end, you will see the task is generated. If you remember, we had talked about the task being generated. You go to the system generated task. When you click there, what you will get is this, the task tracker. You go for review. After going for review, you will come to this screen. Now on this screen, you notice the particular specific client and the specific prospect details are shown to you here. What do we have here? So let's go a little slowly on this and see what do we have. We have the proposal code, we have the product code, the product name, the MRP, unit value. And then if you look at it, let's just skip this for a while here and you'll see the discount amount. That means, the delivery charge value that you had put, the percentage. So you had said 5% of delivery charge and then you said 6% of installation charge. So those values are also coming in here. But what we have here is we decide how much of advance payment that I will take. For this particular case, for this particular proposal, how much of advance payment should I be taking? The percentage. When you enter the percentage here, the payment amount will come in here. Then how much of payment will you take percentage wise against delivery? So the percentage will be entered here, the amount comes in here. The agent now, that means how much are we going to take against installation? The percentage comes in here and the amount will come in here. You decide on the number of credit days and then you move on. You notice you have a grid, complete grid here. When you finish doing the complete entry, this grid will get populated. Let's move ahead and see how. Let's come to the second one. That is the second part of the same proposal, where I have here filled in everything. I come to, if you see, we had said discount on, we had already said the amount of, the amount of delivery charge percentage. We had talked about this. Now I can say how much of discount am I going to give on delivery charge? How much amount of discount am I going to give on installation charge? Once I make these entries also, I now decide the next part. That is, I have already decided the most important or the critical part, that is the trading concessions that I am going to provide to this client. And then basis what I am going to get from the client, I am going to decide what am I going to give to the client. Now comes the other part, that is the product discount. Well, please remember while giving the product discount that you need to follow the discount matrix. At the same time, you also have to keep in mind what your BATNA is, right? So give a discount here, or even at the stage of talking about delivery and installation charge discounts, keep in mind that you have to fix your BATNA. The BATNA should keep in mind that the company has to earn, you have to earn, and at the same time the client should also feel that he's got the best deal. Please also remember at this stage that we do not give too much of discount, or rather any discount on the installation charges when we come to the integrated systems. Now I've given the product discount, let's say 10%. The discount value comes in here. In case any of these products in the proposal were a buyback, then the buyback values would come here. What I have is net value, the tax value and the total value. As soon as I finish this, I press add to grid. When I press add to grid, this is what I get to see. So if you look at it, you have the complete details in front of you. So this is filled already. So how much of advance payment will I ask? What is the payment against delivery, against installation, my credit days, the percentage of discount delivery charge, what is the discount that I'm going to give, all of that comes in here, and the grid gets populated over here. So look at this grid, take a moment to look at this grid, and then when you have pressed add to grid, whatever you have decided in this one option comes inside the grid here, right? If I want to add another, then I will move up onto the top again and start the process once again. If not, then I will send for approval. Let's say no, I want to add another one. I need another option. So I go to the next screen. I follow the same process once again. And then if you see, I did add to grid, and here I have the complete detail of the second grid. I also again can say two options are good enough and send for approval, or I can move to the third grid also. So let's take one step ahead. Here again the same thing is repeated. I have completed the changes that I wanted to make. I said add to grid. Now I am happy. I've got all the options that I wanted, and now I say send for approval. Once I say send for approval, this entire thing is now sent for approval to your HOL. What you get to see is approved status pending. You get to see this because your HOL has not yet approved of them. Let's see what is it that the HOL gets to see. This is what the HOL will get. He gets it in his task, and in the task here he says, let me view this. Ram Kishore Jha, for this client, for this prospect and this proposal, this is the date of the sending. That means the day he had submitted, that is Ram Kishore Jha had submitted this options. Your HOL will view from here. When he views from here, he gets to see this. Now, please remember, as we had discussed right at the beginning, a word of caution to every HOL or every supervisor for that matter, that you may have lesser amount of discounts given in the grid. You may have the highest of discounts also mentioned in the grid. So let's say it was 10, 5 and 2. So 10% you say you have approved. Please do not sit back and relax here. Go through every option that your subordinate has given, because the percentage of discount he has given on a particular discount parameter, maybe delivery charge or maybe product, total product value, maybe less or more, but the other parameters could have changed. So please go through each one of them, look at the view part of it, scrutinize it very well, and then either approve or reject as your case may be. Right? In case you want to give another option here, you can say add new and you can add in another option also. Let's see what happens when you view any one of the proposals. So when you press view, this is what you get to see. Now if you look at it, you will get to see the view of the option with all the details that we had discussed over here, and below that a proposal summary. Now this is very interesting because this proposal summary not only shows you the details of the proposal that you are currently working on, but also shows you the initial proposal that you had offered to the client when you gave him the first ever proposal. So if you look at it here, this is the total value, the delivery charge, the installation charge, and I'm now talking about the initial proposal part of it, the VAT, and the total figure of that proposal. Now, what is that we've given initially as discounts? Nothing. Because if you remember, right at the beginning we had discussed that on the initial proposal we will give no discounts. Now, on the second stance, if you look at it in the option, we have given certain amount of discounts. Basis those discounts, the discount figures come in here and the total values come in here. Now, subsequent proposal is the option that you have just given the client. Now, if you look at it, there is a distinct difference between the total proposal values for the two. This is based a plan, a strategy of the business developer that you probably have discussed also maybe with your supervisor. Now, this view of the proposed summary is here, and then you have the payment terms below that. Initially, we had said that okay, the client is going to pay everything at the time of installation and commission. But now that we are giving him a discount, we say he needs to pay a certain amount, a percentage that we had earlier given up there as advance payment, certain amount as delivery, and certain payment he needs to give against installation and commission. Now here, if you look at it, in the initial proposal we had given him no credit days. Now here we are giving him a credit date in the subsequent proposal. So this is what I called a trade-off. When I'm saying that I'm going to reduce something here, I'm also asking him to pay an advance payment. I'm also asking him to pay a certain payment, certain amount of the total payment to be made under delivery also. One interesting aspect that you can look at is that here you have saving on the product. That means how much am I actually finally saving? So your client looks at this one block over here and he says, oh, my total saving finally is so much, which actually is a good amount. Anything which is mentioned in value has a bigger impact than when you say 10%, 5%. So it is better to talk in terms of a value which is mentioned. Now it is necessary for you to look at this line right at the bottom. This line is there to give a slight positive pressure to the client that says the proposal is valid for the prospect. The name, the number of the prospect is mentioned here. From the date is the first date that is mentioned on top here. Beyond this, a fresh approval will have to be taken. So the client is also aware that he has 7 days in which he needs to make the most of the offer that we have given to him. Doesn't this sound interesting? Now that we have done this, let's say the HOL has gone through each one of these different options that are there. After giving the options, basis his understanding, basis his plan and decision, he gives a remark over here. The remark could be anything that he would like the person to know, that maybe he says this is a trick that you must apply, or you must talk to the client of reducing this further, anything that he would say, and finally maybe give him X percentage that we can mention. But he says I approve, or he may say the discount is too high and he may also reject. After we've done this, this is what you get to see. See, what you have here is two different, if you see here, you have two different proposals. One has already been approved. He said, okay, approved. After he's approved this, the approved one has gone out of the view and the other two are still here. Now let's move ahead. Once the HOL has finished his approval aspect, Ram Kishore Jha, who was our business developer, the BDM probably, is now getting to see this view. He sees what has been approved, what is pending. In case he wants, he can also look at the history. He can see here that there is an initial approver, right? And there's a final approver. So here the initial approver and the final approver have both approved. Whereas where it comes to first and the third option, neither of them has approved, they are still pending. You can look at the history to see where it is and what the problem could be. You may want to talk to your HOL to see why is it pending at this stage. After you've done this, what you will get to see finally are all the cases that you had that were pending. So this says, look at it here, it says discount too high, pending. And here it is an approved. This was rejected. This was approved. So this is approved. It is okay. And you get to see the complete approval process. So I'm sure this session has been extremely useful for you and you will make the most of the negotiation tool. Happy selling.